Welcome back to the Farzi Podcast, Part 2. I would like to talk about the performances. Like for me, it was Bhuvan Arora's character as the star of the show. I was telling Saurabh in the afternoon. I'm just telling you that every single person, even that first girlfriend of his, Saurabh, Kavya Thapar, I thought was absolutely spot on as a very fake, uppity Delhi girl, high society. She was so deliciously fake.
Deliciously fake.
And so patronizing. She was delicious. I think she just got everything. She hit all the right notes. And I like that guy Saqib Ayub a lot with the colored hair. He plays Anis.
Yeah. Yeah, he's very natural.
वो इतना अच्छा था ना वो. सौरभ, आशु जी, आपको याद है पहली बार हम मांझा भाई को देखते हैं ना. नेम ऑफ दैट एक्टर Suash. I cannot pronounce his surname. I'm very sorry. So I don't want to murder it and I'm not going to go there. तो हम मांझा भाई को देखते हैं ना, तो वो भुवन आता है ना, तो उसको Anis is introducing Bhuvan to Manja Bhai. Manja Bhai is sitting on the chair and very languidly, he gives him his left hand to shake his hand. It's like uska haath hi nahi utra. I mean, there were just laugh aloud moments. And for me, of course, Rashi Khanna did a very, very good job. And those little boys and that little girl who just comes in one scene and sits on Anis's lap. Even she just, all she has to say is be a brat and say, Kyun? And Bhuvan is like taken aback and says, क्या तुम्हारा सारा परिवार ही ऐसा है क्या? Mental or whatever. तो Bhuvan का एक scene मुझे याद आ रहा है. When they go first time to test the first 500 rupee note, they go to that दारू की दुकान. And when they have to run away from there because they're discovered, है ना, तो वहां पे एक बहुत अच्छा डायलॉग है जो वो कहते हैं, कितनी बेरोजगारी है ना अपने देश में, सालों को पता भी नहीं है क्यों हमारे पीछे भाग रहे हैं.
ये मुझे ज्यादातर लगता है जब मैं पॉलिटिकल रैलीज देखता हूँ कि कितने लोग आकर के रैलीज में खड़े होते हैं, उससे समझ में आता है कि कितनी बेरोजगारी है.
बिल्कुल. अच्छा, मुझे एक सवाल पूछना है. There's this actor Vivek Madan, okay, who plays in this show. He plays Regina Cassandra's boyfriend, the one she's going to marry once she gets divorced. Now, this Vivek Madan, the first time I noticed him, long ago, there was FIFA World Cup happening. And there was this ad. And he comes on the screen, he had curly hair. He has in real life also curly hair. And orangey, lemony, Fanta something. And that's the first time I noticed this guy, and I've been following from that time. He got some small roles. His career is sort of getting back on track. But I just wanted to understand, he's got the most brilliant voice. He does a lot of voiceovers. Why does this actor not get more work? Because he's very good, Vivek Madan, in this also, he's just, there. And so performances-wise, the most disappointing performance for me was Nanu's, actually. Maybe that is how it was written. I don't know. But it didn't kind of evoke any sort of, except those subtleties in performance when the hospital scene, when KK Menon and Mansoor Dalal just, like a bull in a china shop, he comes into the hospital room and he sits in very friendly. He's chatting with Amol Palekar and telling him that he's bought that painting. And he doesn't know who he is. But there is a nice subtle thing when KK Menon gets up and goes to leave. There is fear in Amol Palekar's eyes. That was caught brilliantly. So this whole show is full of subtle things like this, So as far as performances go, I think they all did justice to it, even the smallest roles. There's that cop, na? Saurabh, sorry, ek cheez bata deti hu. There's the police officer, very sweet. He comes in lots of Hindi films. When Rashi Khanna goes to the police station to raid, supposedly, the press, 11 presson mein jana hai. तो वो जो छोटा पुलिस ऑफिसर छोटा बैठा, he looks at that paper and he says, 11 प्रेस में जाना आज ही करना है क्या? So You can see his expression. He's so good. Yeah, sorry, Saurabh, you were saying something.
Nalini, do you think Amol Palekar's character was a reference to Bato Bato Mein?
Yes, because of the painting and the sketching. Yes. Talk about it. Saurabh, talk about it. Yeah, it's nice. Go ahead.
So while watching Farzi, I didn't know about this. So I saw this trivia on Twitter. This Twitter handle called Pragya Mohanty. She posts movie-related tweets and all. So then I got to know that Amol Palekar's character as a painter is a tribute to his character from Bato Bato Mein. So there's a post where Pragya has written that अभी दादी या मौसी जी की सलाह लेते हुए चूहा और बिल्ली का पेंटिंग छोड़कर now he's like Farzi में he's like serious painter और क्रांति फैला रहे हैं and all. So that was interesting.
और पता है आपने वो क्रांति का नाम लिया, but just tell me something. Okay, now people who are listening to this might think, oh my God, she's so stupid. What kind of a question is she asking? But I'm just going to say, वो क्रांति किस चीज की लाना चाहते थे? I mean, वो कभी
ये तो मुझे भी समझ में नहीं आया कि क्रांति जो है
Kranti is actually a contradiction. Kranti is a contradictory to Shahid Kapoor's character because Shahid Kapoor is the real Krantikari, right? He's the rebel because he is rebelling towards the ideology of Amol Palekar.
No, you're right. No, it could be right. But what Nalini ji is asking is that you're running a paper called Kranti, and you said many times कि वो क्रांति लाना चाह रहे हैं. तो and he's idealistic also to a certain extent.
Yes.
But वो किस चीज की क्रांति लाना चाह रहे हैं और क्या गड़बड़ है जिसकी वजह से क्रांति ला रहे हैं उस वर्ल्ड में जिसमें अमोल पालेकर का कैरेक्टर जो है एग्जिस्ट करता है, वो तो बताया ही नहीं. क्या प्रॉब्लम कहाँ पे, क्या क्यों क्रांति ला रहे हैं?
Exactly. Does he want is obviously he's a socialist, obviously he's a leftist, that I got, because he's against money and he says पैसे को भगवान मत समझना and all of that. पर वो किस चीज की क्रांति लाना चाहते हैं इतने सालों से, 30 साल, since 1975. You know that date they have mentioned, Ashuji, Saurabh, if you remember, 1975 में इमरजेंसी आई थी, ठीक है, हमारे देश में. तो I think they mentioned the year 1975 से ये क्रांति चल रही है, if I'm not mistaken. I apologize if I am. But ये किस चीज की क्रांति? Who are they referring to? What are they referring to? It's just conveniently just again left out, very lazy out there, that idealistic thing, you know. It's yeah, they haven't said. Yeah.
So that is the thing, you know, that when you end up saying that these little things, when you do not really put into the script and get it to the audience's mind very clearly, it sort of leaves you wanting to understand a little more about everything and say, क्या हुआ भाई, क्या मिस कर गए हम, इसमें ऐसा क्या कम्युनिकेशन था जो हम लोग नहीं बोल पाए. And this is where Sridhar Raghavan comes in, and Sridhar should have taken care of these little things where no, is it Sridhar? Sridhar wrote this? I'll have to check that.
Sita Menon and Sita Menon.
Okay. This is where okay, let me change it. This is where the screenplay or the script writer along with the director should have come in and started putting these little things so that you don't lose important things in communication and you have your audiences with you at all point of time. So हो सकता है हम लोग बाल की खाल निकाल रहे हो सकता है हम लोग निटपिकिंग कर रहे हो, बट मुझे लगता है कि ये सारी चीजें जो है ना, राइटिंग के स्टेज के ऊपर ये सारी चीजों को क्लियर करना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, बिकॉज आपकी ऑडियंसेस उस हिसाब से कनेक्ट होती है.
Gee, on talking of continuing to talk about performances, I must say the smallest of smallest characters, you shouldn't call them small characters actually, but everybody, even those girls who come for the interviews, they're all brilliant. It reminded me of Special Chabbis, of course, that entire scene, but there's one amongst them, right, who by which time Bhuvan, if you remember, he's so bored, and Chittaranjan Giri's character Chachu is also bored, and they're kind of just sitting there, and this one girl comes and they ask her कि last English film कौन सी देखी, so she says दिल धड़कने दो. और उसमें भी the girl that they choose, she's so brilliant, the one who speaks fluent Marathi and then becomes Jennifer, when she's speaking. So all, they gave a lot of attention to this kind of detail, which they probably also could have given to all those convenient plot points that we were discussing. And like I had this question about Kranti, वो किस चीज की क्रांति? एक छोटी सी चीज, मुझे नहीं पता मैंने इसके बारे में पहले बोला है कि नहीं, but small things they have been so good about in the writing. There is this scene, Ashuji, Saurabh, when Shahid and his current girlfriend, Kavya, I think, have just left the restaurant, and Rashi walks in with this surgeon who her mother has found for her to get married. So when they're walking into the same elite restaurant, she just casually asks him, because she's not interested anyway in meeting any boys. She just casually asks him what he does. So he says, "मैं CT surgeon हूँ." So she looks over her shoulder and says, "CT क्या?" And because it's such a good reference to CT 600, which is that scanner. So these kind of things are there throughout the show, which are quite, I must say, very, very well thought out.
मैं एक छोटी सी चीज मैं भी पॉइंट आउट करना चाहता हूँ, एंड आई डोंट नो वेदर यू एग्री विद मी और यू डोंट, आई मीन डिसएग्री विद मी कंप्लीटली, बट देयर आर टू थिंग्स दैट they've chosen to show from the character point of view. तो obviously क्या होता है कि जो मोस्टली गुर्बत में रहा हो, या जो मोस्टली उस एनवायरनमेंट में रहा हो जहां पे इंसान की चाहतें जो है वो पूरी नहीं होती हैं, और उनका दिल करता है कि मेरी ये चीज भी पूरी हो जाए, मुझे द डिजायर्स आर देयर as much as possible, and you've shown that those desires being fulfilled when they go and buy 2 big apartments, huge apartments, if you remember.
Yes.
Yeah, and Firoz's character, Bhuvan's character, goes and buys a Hummer. What happens to these properties and assets? Because they just show it once and then it's all over. I mean, you've never seen this guy in the Hummer ever again. They are in other cars, which are smaller cars or whatever. And at the same time, they've never shown them go back to that property. They keep sitting and chilling in that small place which has got a sofa and a half of it, and they keep chatting and talking over there. तो
वो कहते हैं ना, वो कहता है ना भुवन, अगर मुझे याद है सही, सौरभ को याद होगा, वो कहता है ना, घर आके अच्छा लगता है ना, जब वो छोटी सी जगह में जाते हैं ना, जब अमोल पालेकर का हाथ का खाना खाते हैं या जा।
मैं मानता हूँ, लेकिन हाँ, तो मेरा ये है ना कि आपकी जो चाहत है उसको आपने एक बार दिखा करके आपको लगा कि हमने चाहत दिखा दी, खत्म हो गया. It's not a folly, but I'm just trying to understand from the writer's perspective or the director's perspective कि वो दिखाया क्यों, what was there. अगर नहीं दिखाते, मान लो वो चीज नहीं दिखाते, तो क्या फर्क पड़ता?
Saurabh, you want to say something on that?
No, nothing to add with this, क्योंकि आप लोग दोनों ने इतना बढ़िया से explain किया है. I'm just listening.
नहीं, एक्सप्लेन नहीं किया. मैं कह रही हूँ कि वो जो आशु जी का पॉइंट है उसके बारे में कुछ कहना है क्या आपने?
No.
हाँ, okay. And also these small things like we said na, CT surgeon and CT 600, CC fart. So
very intelligently put. and Vijay Sethupathi का reaction जब वो पहली बार सुनता है, नाम बोलता है, what the fuck, who thought about this?
Counterfeiting and currency fraud analysis and research team, CC fart. He says क्या? He says ministry से आया है ये.
That means ये fart ministry से आया है.
Exactly.
Even भुवन का वो एक लाइन बहुत अच्छा है कि मुझे पता है तू उसको बहुत चाहता है. क्यों चाहता है? क्योंकि वो तेरे औकात के बाहर है. मतलब एस्पिरेशनल को उसने उस कैरेक्टर के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से कितना अच्छा बोला कि शी इज एस्पिरेशनल फॉर यू एंड यू वांट टू बी देयर अराउंड हर. ही सेज इट कि तेरी औकात के बाहर है, इसलिए तू उसके पीछे पड़ा है.
बिल्कुल.
वो तेरे से प्यार, मतलब वो तेरे से प्यार नहीं करती है, तू किस बात के प्यार की बात कर रहा है. So for he's actually saying that you're actually almost like a toy boy for her, and she is aspirational for you, and that's why you keep going after her.
Right. From there, can we segue into the gali galuch, into the cussing? What are your views on that, Saurabh, on the show? I felt it was a bit much, and it's getting tad. For me, it becomes like lazy writing. It's become so uh, it becomes irritating after a while. But
I have no problem with galis and all, because I like, if it's written properly, if it goes with the context, then it's quite enjoyable. Gali is actually enjoyable if it goes with the context. But here somewhere it was forceful, and like, I don't know why every web series nowadays try to be this edgy and very, like, I don't know why, for giving that edginess they always try to put a lot of galis in there, like unnecessarily every time. Even I was watching this film Ludo. In that also, I felt that there were so many forceful galis and all that. Why? Don't We don't want at that point of time. You don't want. So I can give you an example. Like in Family Man season 2, there is a scene where they go to this counseling session. Manoj Bajpayee and Priyamani. There he starts giving galis, Manoj Bajpayee. But it's funny, like you laugh at that scene, not because gali was added in that dialogue. It is because of his frustration. तो इंसान जब फ्रस्ट्रेटेड होता है तो उसको पता नहीं रहता कि क्या अभी क्या बोलूं, तो वो गाली देता है. So that frustration makes that scene funnier. Here जहां जहां गाली आती है वहां वहां गाली की जरूरत नहीं है करके लगता है सुनने वाले, instead of enjoying that scene.
मुझे भी ऐसा लगा कि it becomes lazy writing, and just like you said कि हर web series में अब गाली डालना, it's become a fashion, but for me it's now getting really boring. And Ashuji, would you like to say something about all the gali galuch?
Yes, I would love to say about this.
Yes.
And before I say something, I just want to ask one question of the two of you. I'd love to have your point of view. कि अगर मान लो ये गालियां निकाल दें, मान लो हम ये गाली निकाल देते हैं, तो दो सवाल खड़े होते हैं. क्या कैरेक्टराइजेशन में कमी होती है? क्या उसका कैरेक्टराइजेशन गाली से होता है? एक. दूसरा, क्या आपको कोई कम्युनिकेशन लॉस होता है अगर आप वो गाली नहीं डालते हैं तो? Now, as an audience, when you're watching this, do you feel that realism is coming because he's cursing? And are you losing communication in case he doesn't curse? I just want to know a response from you as an audience.
Saurabh, you take that and then I'll go.
So I will talk from Farzi's point of view. So, like you were saying, right, Ashuji or Nalini, I think Ashuji was talking about Bhuvan, jo gali deta hai. The way he says these galis doesn't look like a Mumbaikar is doing that or saying that, right? I think you guys were mentioning about that.
I think Ashuji said something like that. Yeah.
No, so my question is very simple. Suppose you remove the abuses, the curses.
No, he got the question. I think he's just asking you whether you mentioned.
Yeah, I got the question.
Yeah.
So point ये था कि गाली जो है ना, that sometimes that comes with that gets associated with the area or the place also. So कुछ terms, कुछ words, like कुछ abusive words जो है वो उस जगह से एसोसिएटेड हो जाता है. तो यहाँ जब भुवन ये गाली बोलता है, वो मुंबई जैसा मुझे भी साउंड नहीं किया. मैं भी कभी मुंबई गया नहीं, बट मुझे भी वो फील नहीं है. तो वो अगर निकाल देता तो भुवन अगर विदाउट दोस गालीज आल्सो इफ ही टॉक्स लाइक दैट, वो भुवन का ट्रेडमार्क हो जाता है. लाइक दैट दिस इज द वे हाउ भुवन टॉक्स. तो उसमें जबरदस्ती का वहां पे एमसीपीसी की जरूरत थी नहीं, मुझे ऐसा फील हुआ.
ठीक है. So
Ashuji,
Nalini ji,
yeah. So a good question. If you take away all the abuses, will the characters change? No, and not necessary that you have to give a gali in every single sentence. Number two, in this, when Amol Palekar's character comes to the railway station to pick up these two boys, I mean, one of them, Firoz, is a vagabond, and he's used. If you remember, he calls his father Kutta. He says Kutte Baap, right? So he's an urchin. So uske muh pe gali hogi. They are brought into this krantikari, socialist, lovely old man who never ever speaks a cuss word, the entire press is full of old people. Only old people. Whatever age these boys were brought in, those people were older. Nobody gives galis. Even Chacha doesn't give. I think once or twice he gives a gali. तो ऐसे माहौल में ये बड़े हुए हैं. So then, to forcibly, like Saurabh is saying, the sound force, for me, probably that was it. But itni gaaliyan kahan se inke muh pe aayi hain? Because they were not urchins. He sent them to school. They studied. Of course, they were selling newspapers. They were selling these pamphlets on the road. They were going to these little kiosks to have their Coca-Cola, and they were पैसे बचा के उसके ड्रॉर में रख रहे थे. लेकिन उनकी परवरिश अच्छी थी. सिर्फ खाने में उनको बन मिलता था. Bun. But they were going to school. They opened their tiffins. So then, itni gaaliyan. If the galis were not there, it doesn't make a difference. 1 or 2 galis here is very natural because in North India, everybody abuses. But आशु जी, मुझे लगता है कि कैरेक्टर से कुछ कम नहीं होगा. मैं उसको कम पसंद नहीं करूंगी अगर वो गाली नहीं देता.
You know, I have a very strange theory towards this. The theory is, all the filmmakers felt there is a leash around their necks. It was the alter ego or the internal devil that was sort of unleashed, where there was an overdose of abuses, an overdose of sex that you could see. Now, if you actually see the OTT content today, the sexual content has reduced considerably as opposed to when it started. And this is what happens, that, you know, sometimes when you tend to find a balance for yourself, you internally say, but I don't need it. I mean, we can do it without it. Jahan zarurat hai, wahan kar la, jahan zarurat nahi hai, we can do without it. गालियों का चलन अभी भी चल रहा है. कुछ ऐसे शोज हैं जहां पे मुझे लगता है कि ऑलमोस्ट डायलॉग की जितनी गालियां चलती हैं. तो पता नहीं ऑडियंसेस उसको एंजॉय करते हैं. इज इट अ ट्रिप और नॉट अ ट्रिप? बट मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं फिल्म मेकर का कॉन्शियंस आएगा और उनको लगेगा कि ये हम चीज बिना गाली के भी बोल सकते हैं और कैरेक्टर जो है वो कहीं से कम भी नहीं होगा. पर्सनली स्पीकिंग, अगर आप गालियों को थोड़ा सा टोन डाउन करो, बिकॉज यू वुड हैव पीपल देन सिटिंग एंड वाचिंग विद योर फैमिलीज इवन इनसाइड योर ओन रूम्स. एंड वी कम फ्रॉम अ सोसाइटी, बेशक हम गालियां वालियां देता हूं, बट हम लोग फिर भी अपने बुजुर्गों को, अपने माँ बाप की इज्जत बहुत अभी भी करते हैं. और उनके सामने छोटे जो हैं बेशक बाहर जाकर के गाली देते हो, लेकिन छोटे अपने माँ बाप के सामने ना गालियां देते, ना सेक्स देखते हैं, ना कुछ करते हैं. तो क्या होता है कि ऐसे आप घर वालों को साथ में बैठ करके भी देख सकते हो. बट ये, आई मीन, मे बी दिस इज एन ओल्ड स्कूल थॉट, बट आई हैव अ फीलिंग दैट it will tone down with time.
Yes, because, you know, recently I saw a podcast of a very famous actor who again was questioned about the galis and stuff. So his take on it was, because he comes from that kind of environment and completely understood from, you know, when he was a small child, all he's heard are galis. So his ears have become very accustomed to it. But he did say that agar hum bachpan se aise accustomed hue hain, and when we see the same thing on screen, so why do people object to it? Because hamare kaan mein. But that's not everybody's mahal, you know. I've grown up in family where we were not even allowed to say bloody. I mean, nobody said bloody. So of course I'm a dinosaur, like I've said, but still, so it is a little tough on the ears. And like Saurabh very rightly pointed out, it looks so forced. You know, sometimes they're just putting it there for effect. So that should not happen. It has to come out organically.
If a Punjabi is saying a gali, for some strange reason, everybody enjoys it.
Because, you know, it's natural. And from here, should we just segue into the dialogues? I'm very interested to know from both of you, which were your favorite 1 or 2 dialogues only, not too many. Saurabh?
My favorite dialogue is what promo में भी था, what is miscasted, sir?
What is निष्कासित? हाँ, निष्कासित. और उसका रिएक्शन जब बोलता भी है, तो जाकिर का जो लाइन है, मिनिस्टर को इंटरप्रेटर बना के रखा. मैं इनफैक्ट आई वाज जस्ट स्पीकिंग टू जाकिर येस्टरडे, जनरली ओवर फोन, तो उसने हेलो बोला, मैं बोला मिनिस्टर को इंटरप्रेटर बना के रखा है, एंड ही स्टार्टेड लाफिंग. बट द फैक्ट इज these little anecdotes really bring the character to life. It's beautiful. And it also brings to life Vijay Sethupathiy's character. If he says मुझे निष्कासित नहीं समझ में आता, तो नहीं आता है. अगर अगर केके को वो इंग्लिश का वर्ड है, नलिनी जी, वो क्या है वो जिसमें he stutters?
Jurisdiction, he says jurisdiction, and then he picks up and says तेरा इलाका नहीं है बे.
तो अच्छा लगता है. It's nice.
Yeah.
It builds into the character and you realize अच्छा इसका background क्या है.
हाँ, बहुत. और वो बहुत मजा आता है. मेरा
तेरा इलाका नहीं है is also a smart writing. तेरा इलाका नहीं है, इलाका jurisdiction के बदले यूज किया वाला वर्ड, and तेरा इलाका नहीं है means इंग्लिश तेरा इलाका नहीं है, हिंदी में ही बात कर.
हाँ.
अरे वाह सौरभ. वाह वाह, ताली.
अच्छा सौरभ, एक तो सौरभ नायर, मतलब you're a Malayali, and then you live in Bangalore, and then you come with such a brilliant argument. Hats off to you, Baba.
सुपर.
Thank you.
बहुत अच्छे. सच में ताली बजाना चाहिए. हम बजाएंगे जब हम इसका एपिसोड रिलीज करेंगे, वहां पे थोड़ी सी तालियां डाल देंगे आपके लिए. अच्छा, मेरे तो बहुत सारे डायलॉग्स हैं जो मुझे बहुत पसंद है, लेकिन मेरा फेवरेट, एब्सोल्युटली टॉप फेवरेट डायलॉग वही है जो जाकिर हुसैन सर के मुंह से निकलता है. आप गेस कीजिए कौन सा है जी. जब वो फोन पे होते हैं और सेतुपति ने उनको फोन लगाया करेंसी के बारे में, एक डायलॉग वो बोलते हैं ना, वो मेरे जहन में.
असली नकली असली, वो नहीं ना.
वही. He says, Zakir Hussain ji says, असली नकली नहीं है, नकली है. तो then this guy says, हाँ सर, ये असली नकली नहीं है, ये नकली है.
नकली है.
और फिर एक वो छोटा सा है, इतना मतलब बहुत बढ़िया डायलॉग तो नहीं है, पर मुझे वहां बहुत हंसी आई जब वो जाकिर हुसैन साहब बैठे हैं ना इंटरव्यू देने के लिए, तो वो उनकी जो मेकअप पर्सन है वो कुछ स्प्रे कर रही है, शी स्प्रेइंग वाटर, सो ही सेइंग पानी क्यों मार रही हो. सिर्फ सर ये पानी नहीं, ग्लोशन है, एचटी चैनल है ना सर. से हाँ लगा. और सौरभ, हम इसके बारे में हम तीनों बात कर रहे थे ना कि जब उनको जेल में डाल देते हैं, जब शाहिद कपूर वो पुलिस वाले को बहुत लेक्चर देता है ना, बहुत हम टैक्स देते हैं, तुम्हारी सैलरी हमारे टैक्स में से आती है, उठा के जेल में बंद. तो जब वो ये घुंघरू की आवाजें कहाँ से आती है? नहीं, मैं आपसे पूछ रही हूँ आशु जी और सौरभ, ये कोई
घुंघरू?
हाँ, कोई छन की आवाज हमेशा आती है, ये कहाँ से आ रही है? आप में से
भूतिया पॉडकास्ट. हॉन्टेड है पॉडकास्ट.
ये आ रही है कहीं से, तो पहले भी आई थी, तो फिर इनको बंद कर देते हैं ना, तो फिर वो बंद होते हैं, तो फिर भुवन शाहिद की तरफ देख के बोलता है, तूने टैक्स कब भरा बे?
हाँ, नकली नोट का काम करने वाला आदमी टैक्स कब से भरना शुरू हो गया?
ओह गॉड, ऐसे बात है. और
एंड वन मोर थिंग, आपने ऑब्जर्व किया क्या, वो जो फोटो दिखा के धमकी देते हैं ना विजय सेतुपति जाकिर के कैरेक्टर को, वो फोटोज बहुत फनी है.
सौरभ, ही टेल्स हिम, आप बहुत क्यूट लगते हो सर. सर आप बहुत, मैं अच्छी फोटो बनाऊंगा, आप बहुत क्यूट लगते हो सर. और एक डायलॉग आशु जी, सौरभ, मुझे सीधा ऋषिदा के पास ले गया था गोलमाल फिल्म में. और वो छोटा नहीं, भुवन बोलता है शायद, बच्चा नहीं बोलता, वो कहता है ना, पैसा बनाने के लिए भी पैसा लगता है. तो वो गोलमाल, ऋषिदा की गोलमाल थी. And of course, when these people say we are middle finger class, I think that's brilliant. इज्जत हम मिडिल क्लास लोगों की औकात के बाहर है, हम अफोर्ड ही नहीं कर सकते इज्जत, हम मिडिल फिंगर क्लास है. I thought that was a good piece of writing.
अच्छा, the other thing that I want to say really, जितना अच्छा रिलेशनशिप भुवन का और शाहिद का है, सनी का और फिरोज का है, in a very strange way, वैसा ही ब्रिलियंट रिलेशनशिप जो है वो विजय सेतुपति के कैरेक्टर का और मिनिस्टर का है. कमाल रिलेशनशिप है वो, उसको देता सब कुछ है वो, लेकिन उसको सुनाता भी रहता है, और उसको मालूम है कि हाउ टू प्रेस द राइट बटन्स. अभी इलेक्शन होगा, इसमें नाम दे सकते हो, यू विल बी एबल टू विन आउट ऑफ इट. किस तरीके से उसको रिझा करके उससे अपना काम करवाता रहता है. ब्रिलियंट है.
बिल्कुल. और आशु जी, जब भी वो जाकिर हुसैन साहब से कहते हैं ना कि वो न्यूज चैनल पे आपकी फोटो आएगी, तो उसके हाथ जब होते हैं ना तो थोड़ी सी छोटी फोटो होती है, फिर वो जाकिर हुसैन उसको ऐसे देखते हैं तो वो हाथ ऊपर कर लेता है, तो बड़ी
बड़ा
मगर पूरे सीरीज में जाकिर को करप्टेड पॉलिटिशियन नहीं दिखाया ना, लाइक दे नेवर
No, of course, they talk about it. They talk about
Yeah.
it that the सेतुपति ने तो उनको इतनी बार बचाया ना करप्शन से. वो कहता तो है,
Yes.
you owe me one.
Yeah.
So they speak. Of course, he's fully corrupt, yeah, because when he makes that phone call to MLA Joshi, right? When he makes that call, and they're obviously from opposing parties, and he says कि यार तूने तो मेरी शादी में रेड करवाया था when you were in power, अब मैं ये कर रहा हूँ. So he is corrupt for sure.
So I think in second season, just guessing that he is also involved with counterfeiting and all, Zakir.
अच्छा, you're preempting, huh?
Yeah.
Or are you giving hints to Raj and DK and what to put into the next season?
राज एंड डीके सोचेंगे आइला ये तो मेरा आइडिया है, इसको कैसे पता चल
सौरभ को बुलाओ लिखने के लिए.
राइटर्स रूम में बुलाओ.
और
अच्छा, मुझे ना एक सवाल पूछना है.
अच्छा, आपके सवाल के पहले, क्योंकि हम सीन के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, मेरे जहन से चला जाएगा. वो बहुत अच्छा सीन है ना, जब वो पहली बार शाहिद चित्तरंजन गिरी मतलब यासिर चाचा को कन्विंस करने चाहता है ना, बिकॉज दैट ही शुड print those 500 rupee notes. So he takes them to a coffee shop, right? And over there, the body language of this Yasir Chacha character is so brilliant. They order something, that 500 rupee note goes, that manager picks it up, looks at it, and and then gives it back. And oh, uske saans mein saans aati hai. And after that, when the waiter comes to put the bill and he gives him the cash, Shahid says, "Keep the change."
रईसियत दिखा रहा है वो.
Oh gosh, I laughed so much, I really laughed quite a bit in this show. आशु जी, आपने पहले बोला था ना वो समीर ठक्कर का डायलॉग, वो ये है, वो कहते हैं फर्जी बेच, असली अपने पास रख. Says,
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, over to you, आशु जी, आप कुछ कह रहे थे.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand your take, both of your takes on Regina Cassandra, her role, her character, and why do you think Regina would have accepted something like this?
I think the casting of Regina Cassandra happened because of Vijay Sethupathi, because Vijay Sethupathi has done a lot of movies with Regina, I guess. I don't remember they both acted in a Tamil film or a Telugu film, I don't remember, but I think so they acted together because Regina has done a lot of South Indian movies. So I guess that's why they casted Regina.
नहीं, तो ये तो नेटवर्किंग हो गई. ये नेटवर्किंग की बात कर रहा हूँ. When you get the Regina Cassandra to play a role, would you want to give her something meatier is what I'm asking.
I don't think so. Regina is not that famous in Hindi film industry. Like Hindi film audience doesn't know much about Regina, don't know much about Regina. But she's quite famous in South Indian movies.
I have seen her in a couple of South Indian films, and I frankly, since you're asking this question, when I first saw her, I said, oh, I was a bit surprised, to be quite honest. I was a bit surprised that, and then I thought, okay, the arc is going to grow, and she's here and she's doing this. And who knows what is going to come for her in season 2 or whatever, but you're absolutely right.
So, speaking to you from a casting point of view, as a casting director, if this character came to you, would you suggest somebody like a Regina Cassandra?
No, I wouldn't, because my first thought would be she won't accept it. So I wouldn't approach her.
But one more thing is that Vijay Sethupathi is talking Telugu and Tamil both in the show.
So I don't have a problem with that. I mean, there are linguists.
No. Regina's character is Telugu, I think, in the film. He is Tamilian.
I loved her parents, those actors who were cast.
Oh yeah, very,
lovely
very
and
sweet.
so authentic.
I would have loved it if somewhere down the line Vijay Sethupathi would have said, yeah, you are for me and your daughter doesn't love me but you love me and she wants to move away. And they said, yeah, but some point of time we have to stand with our daughter also. No, you have to understand. It's so sweet. He should have ended up saying that, ठीक है, अभी divorce करना है तो आप ही मेरे को divorce lawyer दे दो, rather than just picking up and saying, आप divorce करते हैं, आप divorce करते हैं, आप divorce करते हैं.
Yeah, Saurabh, Ashuri, that scene was actually, that was one of my convenient plot points. It wasn't a convenient plot point, it was more of a question, really. And I think you answered it for me, Saurabh. But I mean, is that the way to look for a divorce lawyer? I mean, normally when we need a lawyer, any kind of lawyer, we would speak with friends. You have a lawyer, you have a lawyer. People, or maybe you want to keep it absolutely personal, then maybe you just go and try on your own. But you know what I felt about that scene that was put in there to add comedy?
Yes, possibly. Possibly.
Yeah, but I told that this guy, Vijay Sethupathi, doesn't have any social life. उसका कोई दोस्त नहीं है. So वो अपना पर्सनल बातें किसी से शेयर भी नहीं करता. Like how Manoj Bajpayee shares everything with Sharid in Family Man. He doesn't have anyone like that. So I don't think so.
इसका दोस्त तो था ना.
दोस्त था, but I think he never shared his personal things like in detail with anyone in the show.
My point is, yeah, you're right. I agree. To some extent, you can say कि ठीक है, इसका social networking नहीं है, जिसकी वजह से इसको वकील जो है वो easily मिलेगा नहीं. But मुझे जो चीज समझ में आती है ना, कि जो थोड़ा भी इंटेलिजेंस का बंदा, थोड़ी भी इंटेलिजेंस उसकी होगी ना, वो सडनली फोन उठा करके सबको ये पूछना नहीं शुरू कर देगा कि तू do you do this. So even if you do not have any friend, then you don't stand up and say, I want a divorce lawyer for myself. You could end up saying that somebody is looking for a divorce lawyer. Do you need some? Do you know somebody or whatever? You don't pick up yellow pages and say, आप divorce करते हैं, आप divorce करते हैं, आप divorce करते हैं. अगर वो दारू पी करके बात कर रहा है, पूछा है, तो I don't know. मतलब मुझे convenient तो मतलब वो comedy के लिए डाला है. Correct, नलिनी जी. वो मुझे sensible नहीं लगा.
That's what I felt. It was for comic relief and because, Sethupathi is his innuendos.
मगर मुझे एक चीज, सॉरी नलिनी जी, मगर एक चीज है जो मैं थक चुका हूँ देख के वेब सीरीज और मूवीज में. Every cop, either he is suspended or he's an alcoholic, उसका डिवोर्स हो रहा है या बीवी मर गई है या उसका जो सर्विस रिवॉल्वर है वो बच्चा खिलौना सोच के खेल रहा है, मर गया वो, और वो लोग डिप्रेशन में चले गए. ये सब चीज चलते रहता है हर पिक्चर और फिल्म वेब सीरीज में. I need something new.
Absolutely. इसमें भी तो वो reference होता है ना जब वो divorce में जाते हैं, that lawyer, that very aggressive. She was also very good, the Vijita Cassandra's lawyer. She was spot on, that actress. And she says, no, do you leave your gun locked in a locker? He says, yes, I leave it in a locker. She says, no, but you've left it out. So you're absolutely right, Saurabh. These things have become so boring and so predictable that sometimes when you're watching these things, you know what's going to happen. You know what they're going to say.
So Saurabh, any creative ideas?
ओके, स्पॉटलाइट में डाल दिया आपने तो आशु जी.
हम डिमांडिंग बहुत है.
हाँ, सप्लाई कम है इधर. डिमांड ज्यादा, सप्लाई.
बेटा, तुम्हारा कोई आइडिया है जो हम डाल सकते हैं इसके अंदर? इतने तो तुमने आइडिया दे दिए सेकंड सीजन के, ये भी दे दो.
I have a smart answer for this, आशु जी. आप जल्द मेरी ये वेब सीरीज और फिल्म देखेंगे फ्यूचर में, रिटन बाय मी.
अच्छा, उसमें देंगे.
हाँ, मैं खुद बनाऊंगा.
So before we end this, I just would like to ask you all, we've spoken about some, but there are some scenes which you feel are absolutely unforgettable in this, that when after you finish watching it and a couple of days later, you still remembered and either you were smiling or you were moved.
Vangu ki painting. Vangu.
That's just top notch, that scene. Top notch. मुझे भी वो Van Gogh का scene बहुत पसंद आया. आशु जी, आपका कोई ऐसा सीन है जो मतलब आप कहते हो कि मैं तो भूलूंगा नहीं?
जो मुझे लगा पर्सनली, और मैं फिर से रिपीट करूंगा, कि जब वो इन्फॉर्मेशन आती है विजय सेतुपति को, जब वो जंगल में गाड़ी चला रहा है और उनको उसको द स्वॉटिंग ऑफ द मस्कीटोस, मुझे वो, आई थिंक दैट इज वन टेक अवे फॉर मी which I will not forget easily. It's brilliant.
Yes. And there are some little fun scenes also. These kind of details, they make you feel very warm towards the writers and the directors. When these two children, and they're sitting, they've come now, they're living with Nanu, and these women are passing, right, with these Louis Vuitton bags, or these, and they're guessing their prices. It's so endearing, and then these kind of small scenes, the Van Gogh one, and then there's many scenes with Bhuvan. And there is one scene which moved me. I can't remember what was written. If you remember, Amol Palekar writes his last editorial. I cannot remember what he wrote, but I remember Shahid Kapoor's face when he reads it. It's very moving. And then there's this funny scene where Anis, when they go to steal the paper from the paper factory, with that entire scene with the guards. And this Anis guy is so funny. He's covered his face with a handkerchief, but you can see all his different styled and colored hair, and you can see his earrings. So if anybody was to look at any CCTV camera, it's a dead giveaway. And I think that is so funny about that scene. और वो एक दूसरे का नाम भी बुला रहे हैं उसमें, है ना सौरभ, आशु जी? they literally तो वो मतलब these small details that they've put ना, ये बहुत पसंद आया. And that old man who can't speak, they bring him to create an ID for him in a fake company.
हाँ, मुझे एक चीज और बहुत बढ़िया लगी, बहुत अच्छी लगी, कि उसको जो वो पैसे मांगने जाते हैं जो ओल्ड मैन से, तो चाय रखी होती है और बोलते पहले पी लो, चाय पी लो. तो पूरा चाय पहले पी लेता है, फिर बात करता है. उसके बाद फिर जाते हैं, फिर चाय पीने के लिए बात करते हैं, फिर पूरी चाय पी लेता है, फिर बात करता है. फिर जब मिनिस्टर के पास जाते हैं तो उसको इस बार अल्कोहल दिया जाता है, तो वो पूरा अल्कोहल पूरा पी लेता है. फिर बोलता है अभी चले, छोड़े इसको. बोलता है अच्छा.
मगर उसमें एक चीज आपने नोट किया आशु जी,
हाँ.
उसमें एक चीज आपने नोट किया, वो दारू भी चाय पीने की तरह पीता.
हाँ, दोनों हाथ से पकड़ के ग्लास को. पर जब किसी और के पास जाते हैं और उसके साथ में वो उसका दूसरा कैरेक्टर चलता है, तो उसको बोलता है वो, चाय मत मांगना, चाय के मेरे को ऐसी बात कर लेने दे, चाय नहीं मांगना. और वो कैरेक्टर चाय मांगता है और पूरी पीता है. मतलब इतना छोटा एनेक्डोट है, बट बहुत अच्छा है.
बहुत अच्छा. And then he also tells him कि he tells that man from whom they're going to buy the GSM paper, or he goes and tells them that हमें directory बनानी है, Bollywood, Gollywood, Tollywood, Nollywood, हम एक directory बना रहे हैं. And then he's told Anis कि तू बात मत करना, तू because Anis is high, and he tells that person, he newcomer, I entrepreneur. He knew
and that is why my problem is that you have Shahid who speaks brilliant English, and this guy doesn't speak English at all, and they've grown up together like a shadow.
And gone to the same school. They don't show the school, but they show them opening their tiffin boxes with the bun inside. So, and they show them in their school uniforms. They come back from school and there's a voiceover also. हम स्कूल से वापस आते थे और बाकी बच्चे खेलने जाते थे और हम ये क्रांति पत्रिका बेचने जाते थे. तो वो आपका पॉइंट बिल्कुल सही है कि दोनों में मतलब थोड़ा सा वो लोचा है. अच्छा जी.
I think we've covered Farzi fairly well.
जी.
One more thing to cover. One last thing. What are your expectations with season 2 if it's coming?
Expectation, see, it's good that you asked this question, but Saurabh, because you're a cinephile, right? And you do so much research and you actually study cinema and you study and you read a lot, you read articles and stuff. So you have this thing. I actually, even with Family Man, I had no expectation of the second one. I just want to be surprised, to be quite honest. And the sequels are never, Saurabh, even in Family Man 2 didn't appeal to me as much as Family Man 1. Family Man 1 had repeat value for me. And at some point, Farzi will have repeat value for me. After a point, after giving it a break, I will watch it again because I think it has repeat value.
Yeah, but Nalini ji, Family Man season 2 was like episodic. First season से उसका उतना connection नहीं था. Second season was like Sri Lanka. First was like Kashmir, right? But I think but Farzi, I think the second season will be the rivalry between these two.
Mansoor Dalal and Sunny. And of course, Manoj Bajpayee will come into that and, all of that. And but I just want to be surprised. I really don't have any expectations to answer your question.
Honestly, the same. For me, the same. It's not like I'm desperately looking for Farzi's part 2 to come. And like it used to be with the Game of Thrones. कि Game of Thrones पहला वाला आया, मुझे दूसरा भी देखना है, तीसरा कब आ रहा है, या जो अभी कर रहे हैं. So, वैसा नहीं है मेरे में कि फर्जी अगर 6 महीने 8 महीने बाद भी आएगा तो मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ता. I will see it at that point of time. I'm not desperately waiting for Farzi season 2 to come.
Right.
That's the anticipation that has not been created, unfortunately. This is my take. Saurabh, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it will be about the rivalry between these two, KK Menon and Shahid Kapoor.
That's
and
clear.
then
Yeah.
that's clear. And then Family Man's universe is like Srikanth and Vijay Sethupathi, Michael are joining together. It can happen. That can happen. And third is I think Firoz will have some tiff with Shahid Kapoor.
I think he should have, basically.
Yeah.
Since you're asking this, I think otherwise it can't go forward.
I think you're putting thoughts into the minds of the writer and Raj. I think the next thing is you'll get a call from the director and the writers to come on panel to be part of the creative. I'm sure about it. This is going to be your CV, I would imagine, यार.
But आशीष जी, मुझे क्या लगता है ना, अगर गलती से राज एंड डीके मेरी ये बातें सुन रहे हैं, so they will completely change the script and they will say, and they will show me middle class Finger.
Saurabh, fantastic that was. Saurabh, there are very few shows which I'm excited about second season. I wait. One of them was Crown. I mean, I really found it painful that it was coming every year. One of them was Crown. And Game of Thrones for me, when it first came, I didn't see it. So I saw it all together. So there was no anticipation. I saw all the seasons. I binge watched except for season 8, which was a huge disappointment and was very bad.
Why, just off the cuff, what did you feel when you saw stacks and stacks of 2,000 rupees notes being burnt?
It's fake, so you don't. Oh gosh, but Ashuu, you reminded me about something. Okay, and this is just my reaction. I don't know if it happened to you. So when they are first printing those 500 rupee notes in their little, printing press, and then when the cutting machine comes, and I really remember this, and my son and I, we were laughing about it also. So they're cutting the notes, and every time, that whole bunch, it shifts a little. And, I was on edge and I was saying, oh, treat it with respect, it's money. And then
not realizing that it's fake.
Yes. So that's kudos to what they were showing on screen, because they made me feel it was real, and it was being treated with disrespect. Yeah.
But I can't sign off this podcast without actually, saying that the other technical aspects of Farzi were really nice. The camera work was really, really good. Very nice in terms of framing, in terms of movement, in terms of the energy that it was sort of giving for the audiences. The edit was fairly good and crisp. The background music also was not bad. I thought the background music was also very good. What do you think about the background music?
Absolutely. I love the background music. In fact, I wanted to discuss that. I loved it. It became like a character by itself, and it went with the mood. It didn't disturb me. Normally they have these loud, they're trying to tell you, oh God, abhi suspense aayega to ye dalo. So none of that was there. So the background music was fabulous. The camera work, of course. But I also love the production design. I was discussing this earlier that I don't know how authentic that entire press and that world that they created there was very different. And somehow I thought a lot of thought was given to that printing press. I like that world. So I like the production designer. Congratulations, background music, and of course the camera work. And you know that scene that when they're printing the 500 rupee notes and they've really gotten gung-ho about it and stuff like that, and they have these trolleys and they're moving around, and suddenly you see Shahid Kapoor coming out with the trolley, and then he looks, and then there's Amol Palekar standing with all these notes in his hand. Now that scene actually I thought was well crafted, because the audience is expecting कि इनके हाथ में पैसे हैं, शायद इनके ही पैसे मिले हैं, fake notes मिले हैं. But then because of his illness or whatever, he doesn't even know or doesn't even notice what's happening and says कि मैं ये पैसे शायद रख के भूल गया, अब जाओ उधर और प्रेस को छुड़ा लाओ. But at that point in time, Ashuji, a technical thing, if you noticed, I don't know, he comes at a ground floor level. He enters obviously from the shutter or wherever. And later on, when they're printing and printing and printing, you always see those Heidelberg machines. They're all on the top, which is how they would be able to hide everything. So I don't know. I felt that was, I liked the scene. I thought it was well done. But later on, I was asking myself, how is he entered in the ground floor? They're printing there. And then in the later on scenes, they're printing upar.
No, but when Rashi Khanna enters,
Yeah.
and she sort of manages to catch hold of, I mean, you feel there is certain notes there. Wasn't that on the ground floor, or was it on the mezzanine?
No, Saurabh, please help me out here, because I don't think that was ground floor. Or was it ground floor? I don't know. I can't now remember. I can't remember.
I think it was ground floor. I think so.
So that they are upstairs and they're looking down. Remember when they see them down?
Yes,
they're 2 floors down.
Feroz is looking down.
No, even Shahid, Feroz, and Yasir Khan, they're all near the window. There's a kind of a balcony kind of a thing, and they're looking down and saying, "Upar aayegi, nahi aayegi?"
Yes, but while they are hiding, Feroz is looking down and he's telling, "Arey, ye lady officer to upar aa rahi hai."
Ah.
He says,
No, but logically speaking, technically speaking, these machines are really heavy. They cannot be on the top floor. They have to have a very solid ground base. The machines had to be on the ground floor for printing. I mean, I don't know. One has to take a look at it. If they've shown it on mezzanine, then I don't know if it is
they
right.
were looking down. वो नीचे देख रहे थे तो इसलिए मुझे थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजन हुआ. That's why I'm saying it'll just sound like nitpicking, but वो नीचे देख रहे थे जब वो आई थी राशि खन्ना, और काफी हाइट थी वो. It looked like a second floor. तो अगर वो ग्राउंड फ्लोर पे थी भी मशीनें, ठीक है, मान लिया आपकी बात, और अमोल पालेकर जी भी ग्राउंड फ्लोर पे ही आते हैं, तो इनको तो बहुत रात को जब भी प्रिंटिंग करते हैं, सुबह इनको इतनी अच्छी से सफाई करनी पड़ेगी, क्योंकि वो सुबह वो सारे बूढ़े अंकल्स आते हैं ना प्रिंट करने. So it's a hell of a task, and to hide that offset printer, I don't know. It was, all these things were a little fuzzy for me, Saurabh, because they bought that German printer or something, right? The Heidelberg printer. They bought a new offset printer, and where have they placed that? So much so that the old men don't see it. Amol Palekar doesn't see it. Nobody sees it.
Again, convenient.
है ना? Okay, are you all ready to sign off? Thank you very much for this.
नल्ली जी, जाने से पहले वो डायलॉग भी बोल देंगे इन द एंड, वो जय हिंद को जाकिर का जो है ना.
मैं तो इस पॉडकास्ट का नाम ही वो रखना चाहती थी.
Let's end, Nalini ji, let's end it with that. Why don't you end it with that?
Let's say it together, na?
हाँ, let's say it together. As a tribute to Zakir Hussain sir, whom we all loved in this show, and also to Farzi, which we've enjoyed thoroughly, and to Raj and DK, thank you.
Namaste.
Jai Hind.